Effects of thermal pollution. Thermal pollution is the disturbance of water quality by elevated temperatures that cannot dissipate in a natural way. Effects of thermal pollution are cumulative, and result from a variety of sources including air conditioning units, industrial cooling systems, power plants, sewage treatment plants and more. In this post I will discuss how thermal pollution affects the environment, ecosystems and humans. Effects of thermal pollution on human health. People are affected by thermal pollution in more ways than they know. The water can contain chemicals and toxins that have negative health effects on humans, wildlife, plants, and other organisms. Thermal pollution has many adverse effects on human life as well as the environment around them due to a variety of factors such as harmful substances found within the polluted waters or air, such toxins being cancer-causing, illnesses from ingestion of contaminated food sources with bacteria often present in these areas. Respiratory diseases like asthma caused by airborne pollutants released into nearby habitats which find their way back down near ground level causing breathing issues for those living closely, which is especially dangerous for children who grow up without protective gear necessary to keep themselves safe from these elements. Effects of thermal pollution on ecosystem. Pollution comes in many forms, but the type that is most detrimental to ecosystems can often be traced back to local and global sources. For example, ocean thermal pollution has been found on a number of occasions as being at fault for killing off large populations of aquatic animals such as fish or whales. While this might sound like an uncommon occurrence given how much water there is out there, and going by what one would think, it turns out that all you need are some warm waters released into the sea from power plants upstream with something called thermal plumes coming along for extra measure, which mix together in just enough concentration while still retaining their heat levels above 4°C so they stay warmer than average temperatures underwater. There are many consequences of thermal pollution. One consequence is the degradation in ecosystem quality, which can lead to an increase in invasive species and a decrease in native plant life on public lands. Effects of thermal pollution on animals. Animals are facing significant thermal pollution effects due to the release of heat-trapping gases from factories and cars, which is leading to more frequent extreme weather events. Thermal pollution can affect animals in many ways. It could cause damage from burning their skin or inhaling toxic smoke that may be released into the air when fuel is spilled onto water during transportation by boat, trucking accidents, etc. It also affects fish populations because thermal pollutants make these species less able to survive due to being unfit for different habitats as they adapt more quickly, due to high rates of mutation, which then leads them becoming extinct very fast. Effects of thermal pollution on plants. As the world gets warmer, more plants are being affected by thermal pollution. For example, there is a greater frequency in deaths among trees and shrubs in extreme heat conditions. These types of vegetation have smaller leaves that usually trap less water to help them stay cool during hot spells. Thermal pollution is often overlooked as a major issue with effects on plant life, but it has been shown to have detrimental impacts on their health. The surface temperature in water was just over 50 degrees Celsius for the first time ever recorded at one location this summer, 2018. As more studies are conducted into how heat affects aquatic species like algae which live near hydrothermal vents, scientists will learn more about what they can do to help prevent these problems from happening again, or if there's anything we should expect going forward when temperatures rise even further than expected due to global warming caused by humans' greenhouse gas emissions. Effects of thermal pollution on aquatic life. Water temperature is a critical issue for the survival of many species and ecosystems in our world. The impacts are significant, with even slight changes having observable consequences such as increased mortality rates among organisms or decreased growth rate due to smaller body size. Don't worry, they grow back. Thermal pollution can also be caused by natural events like an upwelling event which causes water temperatures near shore to rise more quickly than normal currents would allow. When observing this phenomenon happening off coast, one might see something that looks surprisingly similar to big oil slicks stretching out across miles. The effects of thermal pollution on aquatic life are often hard to isolate. The overall water temperature, as well as the proportion that is heated by waste heat from power plants and factories, can be a factor in determining how much harm will come to an ecosystem under these circumstances. Effects of thermal pollution on agriculture. The use of thermal pollution in industry and the military has been shown to have effects on agriculture. A recent report from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory is showing that urban air quality is being decreased as a result of this type of pollution, which then goes into agricultural land. The study also found that by 2050 there will be about $220 billion worth per year less food available because they are unable to grow crops due to such pollutants like soot or toxic chemicals used for cleanup after hurricanes, etc., with some areas reducing their farming activities altogether. Thermal pollution effects on agriculture are an unfortunate byproduct of modern industry. One example is the diminishing number of wild salmon in Alaska's Bristol Bay region, where a mining company has applied for permits to build North America's largest gold and copper mine, a project that would contaminate rivers with toxins and ruin one of the last great fishing grounds left on Earth. Effects of thermal pollution on global warming. The increase of global warming is a result of the effects that thermal pollution has on our environment. One cause for increased levels in greenhouse gases and other pollutants are from being released into the atmosphere by human activities such as burning fossil fuels or driving cars, which causes an accumulation in temperatures, thus leading to more instances with natural disasters like hurricanes, floods, wildfires, etc. The release of greenhouse gases due to thermal pollution is linked with the phenomena, global warming. The emissions are released into our atmosphere when we burn fossil fuels for transportation and heating purposes. It's estimated that about 5% of all U.S. electricity generation comes from coal-fired power plants, which emit large amounts of carbon dioxide, CO2. We need to find ways around this problem so as not to cause further harm on Earth's climate systems. Effects of thermal pollution on climate change. Climate change is affecting the planet and it's steadily getting worse. Some people say that one of the things causing climate change is thermal pollution, which in turn affects marine animals negatively by altering their habitats at a rapid rate. Thermal pollution can affect many parts of our lives such as air quality, water circulation patterns for fish populations to thrive, coral reefs' ability to rebuild themselves after bleaching events from increased ocean temperatures, which signals an increase in CO2 levels, and more. One of the most destructive ways humans have impacted climate change is through thermal pollution. It can cause a host of problems, from warming up water temperatures to disturbing habitats and migration patterns for species like marine life or aquatic birds. Effects of thermal pollution on economy. Thermal pollution can affect the economy of a country. For example, if we use too much air conditioning or heating in our homes and offices during periods when it is not needed, this will increase electricity consumption, which will lead to high energy bills for consumers and possibly even power outages, as well as increased carbon emissions from fossil fuels such people rely on for their heat or electric current. The effects of thermal pollution on economy are rarely discussed. As the climate changes and temperatures rise, we face rising costs for air conditioning to keep us cool in hot climates, while also putting pressure on sea life as they struggle with warming oceans. The cost of food is sure to increase too due to droughts that will dry out arable land across the world, which was once used by farmers who now need water more than ever before just so crops can grow, because global warming means less rainfall overall, not only throughout a season like it's been doing here recently. Effects of thermal pollution. Effects of thermal pollution on acid rain. Thermal pollution is causing acid rain to become more acidic and potentially dangerous. Acid rain, a result of thermal pollution, can have devastating consequences on the environment. The acid in this type of precipitation changes how soils and rocks are able to interact with water from rainfall or melting snow caused by increasing their leaching rates, which causes natural mineral deposits like calcium carbonate, thin limestone, to dissolve more quickly than normal. Acid rain is often caused by thermal pollution such as coal power plants releasing sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, where it reacts with oxygen, causing sulfates that falls back down onto Earth's surface, creating acidic runoff when mixed with water sources containing other forms pH-altering chemicals like nitrates and phosphates due to agricultural fertilization practices for crops grown close enough near these running surfaces so they can be irrigated through them during times. Effects of thermal pollution on non-living things. One of the most catastrophic effects from thermal pollution is on our rocks. Rocks are held together by a material called silt, which acts as glue to keep everything in place. Without this substance flowing continuously through them, they weaken and break apart over time. This causes natural disasters such as landslides or mountainside collapses that can harm people and destroy property downstream further than any other issue with water flow patterns could reach. Thermal pollution affects mountaintops by causing them to melt from rising temperatures due not only from human activity but also natural causes such as solar radiation coming out off Earth's surface and impacting Earth's atmosphere.